It's just about 3 minutes after 7. We will now call the City of Homestead Committee of the Whole to order, Tuesday, August 26, 2008. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Bell?
Here.
Councilwoman Sierra?
Here.
Councilman Nelson?
Here.
Councilwoman Lobos?
Here.
Councilman McCormick?
Here.
Councilwoman Walton?
Here. Thank you. July 29, 2008 minutes. We'll now entertain a motion for approval.
I move it.
I'll second. They've been properly moved and seconded. Any comments or questions from council? All in favor say aye. Aye. The ayes carry. Thank you. Tab 2, amendment of section 2-424, conflict of interest of the city code to conform to state and county law ordinance.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Mr. Weiss, any commentary on this?
Yeah, I have to give David Wolpin credit for this. There's a provision in the city code that is just a trap for the unwary, which basically says that nobody can take anything, which is people are now, you're operating under the state law and under the county code, and this is so restrictive that a lot of things that are totally innocent could have gotten, we could have had a problem with them, and so David actually was going through the code on something else. And what this does is it makes our city code under conflicts of interest consistent with both the county code, which is plenty strict, and the state law. So David saw this and thought we really should change it. So it was
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any comments or questions from council?
Well, Mayor Bell, I'd just like to say to Mr. Weiss, we wouldn't have been in trouble. You provided such great training at the beginning of our term that you've covered everything.
Yeah, but nobody, this is, if you take a paper clip under this, it's a problem. So that's it. So, but thank you very much.
Thank you. He keeps us scared. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes carry.
Good.
Thank you. Finance Enterprise Committee, Councilwoman Lobos.
Thank you, Mayor Bell. We start with tab 3, which is item A, Hazard Mitigation Grant Program DR 1609662R. Give me a second.
I'll move approval.
A second. Thank you. Mr. Shahada.
Councilwoman Lopez, Mayor, council members. Again, when we were going through the budget presentation, I referred to this one. The city applied for a grant for hardening the stadium, minor league clubhouse, the dormitories, and the Parks and Recreation building. And they gave us a grant with a 25% match.
Good.
The total grant is $505 and up to $11,100 for administrative fees. So the city share will be $126,382, and that's going to be funded by impact fees from next fiscal year. And the state is going to give us $379,145 plus up to $11,100. That if we use the $11,100, that comes to $390,256.
Thank you.
These are not over the numbers, so if you start adding and subtracting, it's a little bit confusing. So.
Thank you, Mr. Shahada. The only other question that I had was, I highlighted to you that on page 16A, under the category if we received funding before, it stated that we had for $379,145. I don't know, have you received any clarification on why that stated that way?
Councilwoman Lobos, Mayor and Council, I did place actually a phone call and an email to this agency, and I haven't heard from them yet, but as soon as I do, I'll let you know.
But as far as your department is concerned, we have not received prior funding?
Not that I'm aware of for this, no.
Okay, thank you. Well, I think it's a great idea, opportunity, as a matter of fact. If anybody comes and says that they'll give you 75% of capital improvement that you needed to do anyway, I think it's a great idea. Are there any questions or comments from council?
It's a no-brainer.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We moved on to tab 4.
And I will move this quickly.
Thank you. It's RFP 200828, installation of red light cameras. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. And before we start, I'd like to, a handout was just given to council. Did everybody receive a copy? And this is from a discussion that we had, if you remember previously when we were looking at the prior vendor, there was a lot of discussion on how the vendor was rated, how they came up with points in the cost and the quality and all this other stuff. In this packet that we received, we did not have any of this information. So I assumed that you guys had gone through the same process, that the bid had been the same, that you had graded in 3 different categories. And so my question to the city manager was, well, what area did ATS win over Redflex, and why is this company better than the other one? So I know it's a lot of information to go through. I haven't seen it myself. I'm just right now receive it. I don't know if you are comfortable with going forth with this right now, if you just want a minute to kind of review the information that was just handed out to you. But while we do this, why don't, Mr. Shahada, why don't you share with council what was different this time? What is it that we changed from the previous RFP, and basically what was different this time?
Councilman Robles, Mayor and Council, I can tell you last time when we had I already forgot their name. What was it?
Traffic Packs.
Traffic Packs company before. We had several issues. We could not clear conscience move forward with them, and we did not recommend to go to the second bidder. And the reason is because when the RFP was issued out, it had very little requirements in terms of performance, financial background, lots of stringent requirements the city did not include in their RFP. Well, since you instructed me to go back and bid it out, we looked at RFPs nationwide and we read about 5 or 6 of them, and everything that's applicable to the city of Homestead in terms of performance, in terms of financial strength of the company, we included in our RFP. Therefore, now when we come to you with a recommendation to award the contract, we are basing it, we are selecting the company based on the requirements, and that strengthens our position when we are negotiating a contract. It's not something we are coming up with, it's something required in the RFP. And that's why we come to you with a recommendation. In the meantime, I'm going to defer it to Brian because I told him to spend the whole weekend studying it because I know it's going to be lots of questions. The same review committee practically met and reviewed it with the addition of Jan, since we have financial requirements and audit requirements. And I can tell you, staff met and there were 4 proposals. They narrowed it down to 2, and they invited the 2 highest or the 2 ranked firms to come and do a presentation to the entire committee. And they did, and it was, the committee debated who should be selected, and it's my understanding, Brian, I will go to you with the way you guys did the ranking. The way I like personally ranking is to do it unless it's required, because sometimes when it comes to grants they want scoring system and all that stuff, but not in this case. The way I like to do rankings, so one person cannot influence the decision of all in terms of throwing their numbers away. You do your ranking yourself, each individual do their ranking, and then they list people number 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then they look at the other one, and the highest number 1 ranking amongst the whole group will be the number 1 firm to be recommended to the city manager. And of course I review it and then bring it to city council. I will defer to Brian to say more, but I can tell you when this came to my attention, I just wanted to know that the recommendation was 3 of the members said to go with the ATS, and one of the committee members wanted to go with Redflex, but I wanted to go with the majority. I asked Brian lots of questions. Me and Joanna had a meeting with Brian and we asked lots of questions, but I don't want to filter anything Brian's going to say, and please feel free to ask Brian, and hopefully Brian, you studied the whole thing over the weekend. Go ahead please and answer the question.
Go ahead, Mr. Carney.
Yes, as actually Mike David explained, that it was actually a very good process this time. We really thorough. Adding Jan to the committee, actually bringing the financial background into it was a plus, but it actually made it an even number, so which made it even difficult because you can actually wind up with a tie. So the initial ranking that you have in front of you right here, this is what they do on their homework. They basically take it and do an independent study, and they come up with this accumulative. They bring that back to us, and we sit down and discuss the issue. We look at based on what their individual scores are. The committee then reviews into an open dialogue on how they felt, how they ranked they came up with their decision.
And I can tell you that the committee actually, at the point where we were sitting there, was at a split for a while, was actually a 2-2 split for a majority of the time, and they wanted to bring back the two top ranked, which was also ATS and Red Flag. They did their presentations, each did a very good presentation. The committee was very, very torn between the two because there was a lot of pluses to each side of it. In the end, what it came down to with American Traffic's solution, Randy can further elaborate on this as far as public safety and things, a lot of the issues that were brought forth with ATS with other jurisdictions, the cross-compatibility with jurisdictions that are neighboring jurisdictions and things of that nature, brought them to the front of the line in regards to top rank. So the committee actually, based on the public safety aspect of it, brought them as rank 1 because they felt everything was pretty much even between the evaluators. They were on each side had good points, but there was a public safety issue that they had, that they felt that the cross-compatibility with local jurisdictions, being able to view things that they needed to see immediately or something of that nature, had where the second ranked did not have that immediate availability to see something. It was more of a 24-hour delay or something of that nature if there was such things as like an Amber Alert or something that they needed to see to access the video immediately.
Ronald, since the difference between the two is actually the public safety factor, Captain Chung, may you elaborate more on that, please?
Good evening, Councilwoman Lobos, Mayor, members of council. In my evaluation, there were two factors. One was the public safety, where in the case of a bad accident, the traffic officer could immediately download the video of the sequence that led to the crash immediately, while on Redflix it would take over a day to get that information. The second one, again relating to the public safety, was the compatibility among municipalities. With permission, each municipality would be able to access their own cameras, meaning be able to view live without changing anything, without changing the angles of the cameras. Just basically you're able to view it live. Should we be looking for a certain vehicle, we wouldn't be limited to just City of Homestead, and vice versa. A municipality north of us wouldn't be limited to their jurisdiction. The other concern I had was the Florida experience. We went through this process once before, and I wanted to be on the safe side if someone's actually done it in Florida. ATS has several municipal agencies in the county that they've installed a system for, and numerous in the state. I called all the references that were listed in Florida. We sent out a questionnaire for out-of-state users. Everything came back positive. So to me, the edge for the public safety with viewing the last sequences of a crash, possible viewing for an Amber Alert or a bowl for any vehicle that we may be looking for, and the fact that they have the Florida experience, have done it already in Florida, that put my credence in ATS.
Okay, thank you, Captain Chung. And any questions? Go ahead, Mayor Bell.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and I'm so glad to finally see this come to fruition. This has been a long time in the process, so I want to really thank Council for supporting this. This is number one, and I've been to Tallahassee 2 years in a row lobbying on behalf of the city in 06, 07, and 07, 08 to try to get legislation passed in Tallahassee, which just seemed to fail everything. We just seemed to stall every time. And we would pass out of committee, and then we wouldn't get anywhere in the House, in the full House. So this is very exciting. I'm glad to see this come to fruition. And it was not surprising to me, since ATS was like a fraction of a percentage of point behind TraffyPEX the last time. So I kind of thought that might be what happened. But I really appreciate the fact that public safety is number one, because that's the whole reason that I pushed for this a couple of years ago, or a year and a half ago, was because of public safety. And I think, unfortunately, sometimes people only understand that if they're going to get, because you see the red light running in Homestead has become just horrible, rampant, and it's very dangerous. And so I think, unfortunately, people only understand that if they're going to get a ticket, then they're going to stop at a red light, not because they might kill somebody, but because they're going to get a ticket and have to pay a fine. So anyway, thank you very much. I'm very excited about this, and I can't wait to see those cameras going up. By the way, I remember the last time that we went through this process, that both ATS and the first rate company, both of them, and one of my concerns was that they were standalone and they were able to operate independently of a Miami-Dade County pole. Is that correct? Because we want to be independent, we don't want to have to go ask the county permission to access their poles.
That's correct, ma'am.
That was very important.
That's
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Sierra.
Thank you, Councilwoman Lobos. I, first of all, was very pleased to see this rating score sheet. Brian O'Connor, you guys did a great job. This, to me, and again, it might be back to my days as a teacher, really is clear, precise, and to the point. You know exactly the area that you were scoring on. And in fact, I took the time to add up the numbers, and just for your information, on the criteria system meets requirements, American Traffic Solution came out first. Experience, proven performance, they came out first as well. Service support and training, they came out first. And installation time frame, they also came out first. The only two that Redflex beat was in total evaluated cost and financial strength of vendor. Those are the two that the other one came out on top. But the other four, American Traffic came out quite on top. I was thrilled when I saw this. Thank you very much for putting it together. I do have one question, Officer Chong, Captain Chong. The neighboring community to the north of us that also uses ATS is whom?
the nearest one currently would be Cutler Bay at present time.
And am I properly informed when I have recently heard that Florida City is currently using ATS?
Well, they're not, it's not in operation yet, ma'am. They have signed a contract, and it will, at some point, it will be installed.
Beautiful. And I would like to share with council, as you know, I travel a lot throughout Florida, and in the cities like in Orlando and in the other cities where they do have these cameras, boy, you rarely see anybody taking a traffic light. But I was on the road on Campbell coming to one of our meetings over here the other day, and not one but three people just flew right by me, and I was like, where is there a cop when you need him most? But I'm really happy to see this move forward. I'm very happy to see this move forward. It definitely is a safety issue. I mean, these cars were flying right by Campbell Drive Middle School, and it was just upsetting, very upsetting. At that moment, I wish I would have been a cop, but
Thank
not
you.
my job.
Councilwoman Waldman, and then
Thank
Mr.
you.
Shahada.
I'm thrilled as well. I think, I'm sorry.
I've got a cold, so I'm up here coughing, so I turned off the mic, I'm sorry. I'm also thrilled that it's finally happening, and I'm glad we picked this company. But can I ask a favor? Can we please try to get these a little bit ahead of time, so Ms. Sneer doesn't have to sit up here and do our analysis? And thank you very much for doing that, too. I always appreciate that when she gives us the percentages. But if we could just try to get them a little bit ahead of time. I know this was probably done a few weeks ago, but it's hard for us to digest and listen and then sit here and study at the same time, so I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman. Mr. Shahada?
Madam Chair, council members, Mayor and Council, I just want to make it clear that my recommendation here will say allow me to negotiate with the highest ranked firm, and if things don't go well through negotiating a contract, to go to the number 2, because we think also that firm is qualified. And I think there's a gentleman here, Mr. Jimenez. You're a lobbyist for ATS, or you work with ATS?
Registered lobbyists?
We have our papers to prove it.
Does anybody have any other questions or comments for the gentleman that's here? Okay. The mess that we went through before with the previous vendor, so I appreciate all the work that was put into this to make sure that we got it right. And there was a couple of things that were missed the first time around, but we had a chance to come and do it again, and so it's better to find out now rather than 6 months or a year into that contract and find out that there was a bunch of things that we had missed in the RFP. So I appreciate the work that was put. So if there's no other questions or comments, we'll take a roll. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Lopez, can I make one more comment?
Yes, Mayor Bell.
One of the things, a comment that you made earlier was that even if we have to go back and do it again, and it delays it and takes a little time, we're going to do it, we're going to keep doing it till it's right. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Bell. We move on to item C, tab 5, is the increase of stormwater rates ordinance. And here staff is recommending that council authorize an increase in rate by 2% effective October 1st, 2008.
I'll move it.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Mr. Shahada, why don't you go ahead and start?
Madam Chair, Mayor and Council, again, follow up to my budget recommendations. Like I said, for the past 6 years, since the city has its financial crisis, we've been increasing rates with the CPI, but not to exceed the 2%, and I can assure you throughout the years, CPI was always higher than 2, but we kept it at 2. It kept us afloat and also maintained the service level since the financial crisis and avoided having any rate shocks. With this one, the stormwater requires an ordinance, that's why you're seeing it here, but we're going to have water, sewer, and stormwater as a resolution. So it's my recommendation that council approves this increase. It's a very small increase, but that's what we've been doing for the past 6 years, with the exception of 1 year we skipped. And like you said, this is only 7 cents per household practically.
Thank you, Mr. Shahada. Are there any questions or comments?
I just appreciate keeping the increases very, very low because everybody's having a tough time out there. So even though we have to increase it, let's keep those increases very small. So I appreciate that, Councilwoman.
Thank you. Any additional questions, comments? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against? No. 1 nay. Thank you, and that's it for me, Mayor Bell. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Parks and Recreation Committee, Councilman McCormick.
Yes, tab 6, purchase of baseball pattern equipment for the sports complex. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll move it. I'll second.
Thank you. Been properly moved and second. Do we have any questions from the council? Any comments? Any from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councilman. Nice and quick. I know you have to go to work. Public Safety Committee, Councilman Nelson.
Thank you, Mayor Bell. Tab 7A, Cost Recovery Services.
I'll move it. I'll second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Mike?
Mr. Chairman, Mayor, Council members, we're asking for your conceptual approval to allow us to continue the discussion with this company. One of the requirements we have to have before we sign the contract is to pass an ordinance allowing us to do something like this. And also our attorney's office, Richard's staff, and us are having a discussion about, other related issues. It's been implemented nationwide. Actually, this company is based in Ohio. The owner came and met with us. We think it's a great program. I can tell you I did not reflect it in the budget as revenue, so whatever is going to come is going to be icing on the cake. But the thing we wanted to emphasize with this company, that any person who lives in the city of Homestead as a resident or taxpayer, so somebody could be a taxpayer having a business in Homestead and not living in Homestead, will not be subject to this reimbursement. And again, this is just to reimburse us for our actual expenses that the City of Homestead Police Department spends from the general fund money for people outside the community.
So the only comment I have is this is sort of a work in progress, and we're going to, before we can normally follow things right from the committee of the whole to the council agenda. You won't see this on a council agenda until you have an ordinance in place that allows us to do it. So Sheila, this doesn't go on the next agenda, but we will start working on the ordinance that will get this in place.
Councilman Nelson? Also, I think it's very important to note that while no citizen in the city of Homestead would be impacted by this because they are a citizen, that even those that are, their insurance companies are going to be billed as well. So this is a very fair process, and I agree with the concept completely.
Are there any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
That's carried. Tab 8, item D, application of Miami-Dade County Police Firing Range.
I'll move it. I'll second.
Been properly moved and seconded. Are there any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, tab 9, C, Office of Justice Prevention.
I'll move it. I'll second.
Been properly moved or seconded. Are there any questions? This is a grant for weed and seed for the Northwest community.
Very good. Councilman Nelson?
Yes.
If I may make a comment. I said to the Assistant City Manager that it's phenomenal the amount of grant money that comes through the police department. I mean, the amount of programs that are funded by grants. And so one of the things that I was interested in is if you could report to us the total to year as to how much money the police department has brought in through grants. Is that something that you have available now, or in the future, if you could just share that number with us?
Councilwoman Lobos, Mayor and Council, I will be meeting with Sandy Manny from the Police Department very soon, and as soon as I get that update, I will definitely advise the council members as to what that number is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Nelson, I think we could rent out the City of Homestead Police Department's grant writer and probably make a little money for the police department.
There's a couple every week that we're here. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any business from the city manager?
No, Mayor.
Mr. Nelson, any business?
No.
Ms. Sierra? Oh, yes, go ahead.
I want to thank everybody for coming out to the function that Homestead Merchants Association had over the weekend. It was a very nice turnout. They're going to be here next week doing a presentation and thanking the city for helping. And as the mayor said, everybody please go out and vote tomorrow. That's it.
Ms. Sierra?
Just remind everyone to please go out and vote tomorrow. It's extremely important for our voices to be heard, and he took my thing, so that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Lobos?
Yeah, there's an election going on tomorrow.
Councilwoman Walden?
Yes, I just heard the news right before I came, and there's another tropical storm out there, so I hope that this weekend we're not going to be experiencing what we experienced with Faye. And also, I just can't help myself, but Richard, I almost didn't recognize you tonight because you didn't, we always tease because Richard wears the same colors. And I walked in like, who is that man?
The truth is, my son and his girlfriend bought me this tie. And this is the only, and he's home, so it's the only suit that I had to go. And I wanted to leave the house this morning, but I know it's a little wild for me, but I'll be back for my uniform.
It took my breath away. You look very handsome, but thank you very much, and be safe and go out and vote.
Thank you, and that closes this meeting, and in case you didn't know, please go out and vote tomorrow. We appreciate it. And thank you so much, and God bless you all. This meeting is adjourned.
Really didn't.